Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Diversity Fair. Brown bag luncheon. Okay, it is not the Diversity Fair. I got that on my mind. So, as you know, tomorrow we will be observing Veterans Day, and actually Veterans Day is actually November 11th. Is that correct?
Yep.
And in Nashville, generally they have a big parade. I don't know if the parade is going to be tomorrow or Saturday, but the schools are out. Metro schools are out, as a matter of fact. And but it's a big deal. We appreciate our veterans, all of them. We have some other veterans in the room here as well, John. But I'd like to welcome everyone from the regions who are tapping into our luncheon today. Welcome to all of you. Our speaker for today is a TDOT employee, and we are glad to have him, Mr. John Briggs. John is a Transportation Manager 1 in the Aeronautics Division. John is a native of Salina, Tennessee, a 1997 graduate of Tennessee Technological University in Cookeville with a Bachelor of Science in Geology. He subsequently earned a master's degree of Business Administration from the Naval Postgraduate School in 2005. Following graduation from college, John joined the United States Navy, where he served on active duty for the next 11 years. Shortly after leaving active service, he was recalled to active duty as a reservist for 3 years. In 2013, John joined TDOT here, serving as a Region 3 HR Administrator. In February of 2014, John was promoted to HR Manager 2 in TDOT Human Resources. Currently, John serves as a Transportation Manager 1 for the Aeronautics Division, and he works with Michelle Frazier, who is here from Aeronautics. So at this time, we'd like to welcome you, John, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yes.
Thank you to all the veterans out there for your service. And my presentation is kind of a thank you, I guess. It's not a lot about me or anyone in particular, but I just thought I'd bring out some facts and figures and just say thanks to what the veterans and kind of give an eye into a little bit what it means to be a veteran. So everyone can see the PowerPoint. Just start off with a little history of Veterans Day, which most of you probably know started off as Armistice Day on the 11th hour, 11th day, 11th month, 1918. World War I came to an end. And the following year, they started celebrating Armistice Day. In 1938, in the United States, it was made a legal holiday for citizens of the United States. And then in 1954, Congress changed the law to make it Veterans Day. They substituted the word veterans instead of armistice. At that time, World War II had taken place and the Korean War. And it's typically a time when most Americans have parades, ceremonies like this, I guess, to thank veterans for their service. And every Veterans Day should be a time when Americans can stop and remember the men and women who've served their country and risked their lives. And I have a quote up from Dwight D. Eisenhower. He said, "It's well for us to pause to acknowledge our debt to those who paid so large a share of freedom's price. As we stand here in grateful remembrance of the veterans' contributions, we renew our conviction of individual responsibility to live in ways that support the eternal truths upon which our nation is founded, and from which flows all its strength, and all its greatness." When Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner over 200 years ago, he called America the land of the free and the home of the brave. Those words are as true today as they were then. Throughout this nation's history, America's soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen have bravely answered the call to defend our freedom and to aid our friends and allies to turn back aggressors. We can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to the more than 650,000 American service members who died in battle, or the 1.4 million who were wounded. We can, however, recognize and thank the 25 million veterans still living today. These words are inscribed on the Korean War Memorial in Washington. Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met. Those words apply equally to many of the World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Gulf War veterans as well. They apply to today's active duty military, who are tomorrow's veterans, who are helping to maintain peace throughout the world. So today is our privilege to say thank you to all of America's veterans, to let them know we appreciate them for their service and honor them for their sacrifices. The price of freedom is high. We cannot afford to forget those willing to pay for it. Today we celebrate America's veterans for keeping this nation the land of the free and the home of the brave. And full disclosure, I did not write that. That is from the Veterans Administration website about Veterans Day today. But I thought it was well written, so I stole it. And the next item I have is a poem I particularly like. It was written by an Army veteran, Charles Province, and it's called "It's the Soldier." And you'll see this corrupted many times and renamed it "It's the Veteran," which I titled my slide. But it comes from this original poem that he wrote. It's the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. I think it's important to know that since 1973, the military has been an all-volunteer force. So that was the last time we had a draft in America. So everyone who's joined since then volunteered. And they get woken up by some of the people you see in our slide. The friendly Marine Corps drill instructor, if you've ever had the chance to meet, are really great people. And I mean that sincerely, once you get used to them. And so a veteran is a person who had the guts to join. And people join for different reasons, but it's not easy to leave home. I've served as a recruiter for a while, so a lot of people will have the idea of joining, but when it comes to it and you actually have to leave home and leave what's familiar, it gets real, becomes real to you what that means of leaving home and going off to who knows where. And a veteran is someone who had the guts to do that. And how do you convince somebody to do that? Well, in the military, it comes with all these catchy slogans and feel good things. Just say, hey, join, it's great. Nothing bad ever happens. Like all these good people in our commercials who are happy-go-lucky. I put a few of them up on the slide there, a few of my favorites. Look at the Navy one. It's probably the best one, and we can all agree on that, I think. But slogans don't make people join. There are bigger ideals, I think, that cause people to decide to serve. They have a sense of service. They want to be a part of something bigger. They want to have a noble profession and a job worth doing. And you can get all that in the military. And because of that, America's military is made up of America's best people. If you've ever had the chance to serve, you see that firsthand. The people who want to serve, want to do the right thing. Naturally, like any other organization, you have people who don't always live up to those expectations, but for the most part, they're dedicated professionals who want to serve their country. And once you join the military, one of the first things you do is you have to take an oath of what you're promising to do when you join. And I just put up the first part of the oath. So I do solemnly, you have to say, I state your full name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And depending on if you enlist or if you are commissioned officer, it changes from there, but the basic idea is you're swearing an oath to the law, not to a political party, not to a person. It's to our Constitution. And that's what we're there to support. If you notice, many other nations in history, their military had to swear an allegiance to their leader. But ours is to our law. And sometimes mischaracterized our country as a democracy, but it's not. It is a constitutional republic, which we use democratic processes to elect our representatives, but a republic is something that is governed by law. less by men and personalities. And that's what our armed forces are there to support, is the support of our Constitution and the rule of law in our country. The next thing I have there, and these are just to give an idea of, what it means to serve and be a veteran. These are things you've agreed to support and agreed to live by.
Hey, my guitar came in last night.
Thanks for that. So part of that military training are the Articles of the Code of Conduct. There are actually 6 of them. But I only put the first one and the last one up there. And they're primarily for wartime, when men and women are going off to fight. And they're basically there are ways to govern yourselves when you get in a bad spot. And the first one is, I'm an American fighting in the forces which guard my country and our way of life. I'm prepared to give my life in their defense. And the last one
However, I did open that amp up. I didn't realize the big amp.
is, I will never forget that I'm an American fighting for freedom, responsible for my actions, and dedicated to the principles which made my country free. I will trust in my God and the United States of America.
Can't you say something? We need to mute there. What region?
What region is that?
I don't know.
It's not Region 4, I tell you that.
Oh,
okay.
Somebody needs to.
Not us.
Somebody needs to mute them.
Region 3,
Region 3?
yes. I think they have.
Whoever just got a guitar last night, you need to mute your
They
speaker.
have.
Put it on standby.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all right. We need some comic relief. Anyway, those are just things that,
Region 3 is quiet. We got our
Oh,
microphone muted, so it's not us.
Are you guys watching this?
with the Articles of Code of
Mike
Conduct
Brown
are just,
is calling, so.
Yeah.
So it's either 1 or 2, right? 3 and 4 says not them.
that comes with someone out of the district or somewhere. It's not engaging, it draws you in. But the Articles of Code of Conduct just reinforce why it's worth it, what you're fighting for, and guide you for ways of conducting yourself when you're not in an ideal situation. And these are just what I thought were cool photos to distract from the lack of content of my presentation. But people in the military and veterans know this. There's a lot of difficult work that goes on around the globe that's often unseen, unheard of, and it's not necessarily big things, but it's a bunch of people doing the small things every day that make things work. And you get to see an idea of what freedom costs, what the price of it is, especially when you go to some other countries that don't have those freedoms, that don't have the privileges that Americans do, that don't have the economic wealth that Americans do. There are a lot of places in the world, if they walk into one of our grocery stores, that's probably the most food they'll ever see in their lives. And it's just shelves full of stuff that you can get anytime you want. And they're just happy to get their next meal. So, a little about TDOT. These numbers may not be 100% up to date, but there are about 282 veterans working for the department. It's about 7% of our employees come from every branch of service. So tell them thank you today. And I'll say thank you for your service and what you've done for your country. Just ending with some numbers overall for veterans and kind of the numbers that have served during periods of conflict, which is not everyone did, but that's good. But especially for the ones that have, especially since 1973 in the all-volunteer military. If you can see in World War II, 16 million people. That's probably why they're called the greatest generation. But if you combine the Korean War, Vietnam, and our current operations, we're getting close to that number that have served in modern times. Over 43,792,000 have served during the wartime in America. So thanks to our veterans. Thanks for your time today, for having me. Let me come talk. And that's all I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
what made you pick the Navy out of all the branches? What about the Navy appealed to you?
Because it's the best.
It's the best. Yeah, but, what? You
Well-
like the uniform or what? What was it?
I guess I was predisposed to join the Navy. My dad was in the Navy. My grandfather was in the Navy.
Oh, okay.
So I guess I was kind of predisposed to
Yeah.
join the Navy. But, all of them were great. Don't want to disparage any of them, but it was a little fun.
Well, I know that when you worked in HR, you had to go and be a reservist for, how long were you gone?
I was gone for a year.
A year? Okay. Can you disclose what kind of work you
Oh.
did, or was it top secret?
No, it wasn't. It was human resources work, oddly
Really?
enough. Yeah, we still have to have personnel in the military.
Mhm.
It was in Qatar, which is a small country on the eastern coast of Saudi Arabia. Very hot and humid.
So is the Navy's HR more organized than ours? I'm just asking. I mean, you're an HR expert.
I don't know if I would consider myself an expert. It's different.
It's different.
The military is governed by Title 10 law, pretty much. So a lot of civilian HR is not applicable in the military. We don't have FMLA. We don't have workers' comp.
Mhm.
There's no wage negotiation. There's no benefits negotiation. It's all set by law. So all that piece of it,
Mhm.
you don't have to
deal with
worry
that.
about.
Yeah.
So it's just different. But it has its own complexities of the manpower side of putting faces in spaces and recruitment.
Mhm.
There's a high turnover rate in the military relative to probably civilian industry. Most people do 4 years.
And
the vast majority of
you
the
volunteer for 4 years, and then after you do your 4, you can get out, or you can re-enlist.
Yeah. Every contract's actually an 8-year contract. It's
Oh,
just,
really?
It's just a matter of how much you do on active duty and how much you do in the reserves. But vast majority of people probably do it 4 years and get out, which leads to its own problems of turnover and training and all that.
What is the minimum age to volunteer?
To do it by yourself, you have to be 18. If your parents are willing to sign your papers for you, you can join at 17,
Really?
assuming you've already graduated high school. If anyone wants to join, feel free to contact your
You're
local
recruiting
recruiter.
today. You said you used to be a recruiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple of veterans in this room today. Would they like to say anything? What branch, at least?
Marine Corps, I recruited as well for a long time.
Okay, and we have another one.
Tennessee National Guard, I was a human resource person.
Well, in a workforce of somewhere between 3,800 people, and here in TDOT, I'm sure we have a number of veterans, and we appreciate each and every one of them. Out in the regions, can the regions hear us? Can the regions respond?
They said yes.
They said yes? Okay. Well, Region 1, is it someone there from Region 1? No. Region 2? Region 3, how many veterans you got over there?
How many we got here, Joe? Joe's one. Who else?
Kelly's one, and then,
2?
and then Randy Copple's on assignment, been for 2 years over in, Germany.
Yeah, we've had Randall Cobble, he's gone for 2 years.
2 years.
Okay, okay.
What
What about,
a bunch of young people in here too, so.
okay, okay. What about Region 4?
We have 2 here with us today.
And 3 at the TMC.
Okay. Good, good. Well, we appreciate each and every one of them. And hope you enjoyed hearing Mr. John Briggs speak with us today about the good of the Navy and all the branches, but he says the Navy's the best. Any questions for our speaker?
What branch are you facing?
No questions for our speaker?
Not from us.
Okay.
No.
All right, thank you very much. Well, John, thank you again for joining us, and we appreciate you taking the time coming down to headquarters, and we appreciate you taking the time to volunteer. And I guess this concludes our brown bag lunch today.
Thank you.